been lit, boy. Everything goes.
We now return you to regular programming.
We are back once again, and it is week, I don't even know anymore of this Pennsylvania lockdown quarantine crap.
Feels like summer break.
I'm really fed up with all this. Starting to get a little normalcy around here, but we are still currently in the red, so that means the stay-at-home order is still in effect.
I think it was like pushed back to what, June 4th?
Yeah.
Probably get pushed back till July or even more.
June 4th don't seem bad compared to Oregon. Oregon has been pushed back to July 28th. And California, I believe, has just pushed theirs back 3 more months, which possibly could affect the opening day for the Cowboys, who play the Rams.
Making more money than I was working, so I'm not complaining. I know some people are like struggling, but I feel bad for them.
And that's the thing. You hear a lot of people saying they really don't want to go back to work. They're making so much money off of this.
Man,
And
I'm sitting at home. It's like summer break. I'm getting some money from unemployment. I'm not complaining.
But your level of boredom's at what?
It's getting there. On nice days, though, it's nice. I can go on a nice bike ride, go hit some balls, go on a walk. But, man, when it's cold out or it rains, yeah, it's bad. I don't know what to do at that point. I just sit inside and watch movies.
All right, before my phone's going off. Before we jump into talking sports, I got to talk about some podcasts that I've been listening to. And I'm a podcast junkie. I love listening to the McAfee and all the regular ones. But I listened to What's on the Tube with Alex, and Alex might come on later. And, man, I tell you what, Alex and I talk all the time, and his podcast is really, really turned around. They've tried so many different things, and at the last couple ones that they've been doing and it's almost like where we've been going, where it's not scripted. You just sit back, you talk, and everyone gets their say on everything as you're dazed over there. But
I was.
I think those are some.
I was thinking, like, when you said that, I actually just heard a guy who's like a multimillionaire now. He's like, it's easy for people to quit at this.
Mm-hmm.
For us, our ratings up and down, up and down. He said it's easy for you to quit and say this isn't working.
See,
but all it takes is if you love it, you'll do it for nothing, and it takes one video to go viral.
Yeah.
And then everyone's looking at your channel.
See, I'll never quit because to me, I don't care. I don't look at the numbers. I don't care if we have 1 follower. That's one more than none. So I love doing it. I love talking, and it is a lot of fun.
We've evolved as, would you say, a company? as a podcast.
We have a 5-star rating, which is good.
On iTunes. Not iTunes. What's it called? Apple Podcasts, we do.
Yeah.
But
I
you think about it, though. We started off on a Thanksgiving table with a red cloth on top of it, and we never videotaped ourselves with that tiny little mixer.
And now we upgraded. We got new equipment, easier to take phone calls.
We got the lockers going on here. We're videoing. We're gonna try and mount a TV up here so we can see highlights in the background.
But the good thing about like talking to someone like Alex is you can get feedback from each other about what we think of each other's podcast.
Yeah. Well, I think what's awesome too is when we have athletes come on, they say, for a father and son, guys, this is a fun podcast.
Yeah. And we don't look to bash people.
No.
Negative things.
No.
A lot of it's educational.
We're just blessed that they come on.
But like I was saying, his last few podcasts, it's been off the cuff, and like I said to him, those are sometimes the best. We've had our best podcasts
when we just sit here and say, "Screw it, let's just do it."
Yeah, like with Mark Campbell. I mean, that one was like we had a bunch of questions, and we just went with the flow of it, and it was a great. I still say. Jameer, was it Thurman?
Jameer Thurman?
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
Jarvis is still one of my favorites because, that almost turned into an hour and a half almost.
Well, the best ones are when we sit here for like 30 minutes going over questions that we have, and you hit that first question with the athlete, and then you don't look,
the mood.
You know the mood, and then you don't look at your notes the rest of the podcast. You're just like, this is going to be nice.
Yeah. But What's on the Tube is a good podcast. You guys should check them out. It's down to earth, man. It's a bunch of guys that just shoot the shit and have a good time. And then I listen to Girls Beer Sports. This is by far, it's amazing when you hear girls, well, I'm going to say girls, ladies talk about sports.
I think it's attractive.
They talk about beer and then they talk about like regular news and stuff. And they know their shit. They have a big following.
That's mom's looking at us in the background.
But it's people like that where you can reach out to these other podcasts and they can actually give you feedback. I sent them one of ours. They shared it. So to grow, you have to share. But the last podcast I've just listened to was the Jocko podcast. Absolutely freaking amazing. And if you go on there, you got to check out podcast 11 with Leaf Babin. It talks about the Navy SEALs, and it talks about the actual Navy SEALs from that movie, American Sniper.
It's a good one.
They actually train with these people, and like, just some of the stories are mind blowing. But then I listened to podcast 115, which was Dakota Myers. This kid was 17 years old when he went into the Marine Corps. His dad signed for him to go in. He became the youngest sniper in the military at 18 years old.
Imagine killing people at 18.
And
It's crazy.
what he went through, I'm not even going to give his story away, but what he went through, it's just, the story blows my mind of what happened that day. And how the military dropped the ball. People were pleading for help. They're going to die. Some did die. And the amazing story what this kid did. He ended up getting the highest honor in the military by President Obama.
Yeah.
The Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
And to this day, he doesn't wear it because he still thinks he failed because people died. But Jocko podcast number 115, he's also on Joe Rogan, but Joe Rogan's, you kind of get the cut version of it if you go on a Jocko podcast, and it's all military with him. This guy Jocko is a Navy SEAL. He has amazing stories from when he was in Ramada. Awesome podcast. Highly recommended. He's got like 750,000 followers on YouTube, and it's a 3-hour podcast, but I'm telling you, the whole podcast interview, you're going to be blown away. You're not going to want to turn it off. It took me a day and a half because of working and listening to it at work. Oh, God, amazing. Amazing.
I love when you find a good podcast. I was listening to Pat, like you said, we've had a bunch of podcasts that we listen to. I listened to Pat McAfee's podcast in the shower today, and there's some podcasts that you listen to, man, and you could just listen to them for hours, and there's some that you can listen to for 10 minutes because you're bored of it.
Well, I would love to have a veteran on.
Oh, that'd be pretty cool.
I could sit back and I could let them talk and I could
nervous.
listen.
Yeah, I'd be nervous to ask him questions because I don't know what they wouldn't want me to ask and what they would want to ask.
Well, you're not going to be like, oh, what if I like to shoot somebody?
No,
You know,
obviously, but like I feel like there's certain situations when they go into battle or they go into a situation they don't want to remember, they don't want to talk about it. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of personal for them. But I agree with you. I'd let him just sit and talk with us.
Yeah, and that would be so, like, I'm a history buff when it comes to like
too.
military and stuff like that. I could just sit there glued to it and just listen to it all day long. I listen to Pearl Harbor ones all the time, and that would be I don't want to say be better than sports, but that's why we call it Everything Goes, so we can go in any direction. But if I could get someone like that on, a military vet, that'd be awesome.
Well, you're a military vet. Let's talk with you.
Short story.
All right. Well, you want to kick it off with the NFL?
Yeah, we'll talk about the NFL.
I did see. I think there's 22 of the 32 facilities that they're getting ready to open up.
The state of Texas said all sports will be opening up on May 31st. Governor Abbott said that they're going to go ahead with everything. So
I know that they're really pushing to open up, even if people like start to get. They want to get the country open.
I think baseball and I think everything is going to eventually kick off. Not to jump off football quick, but NASCAR had their first event at Darlington Speedway. They're racing again tomorrow. Their schedule's going to be weird. They're like doing 2 races a week. And the national televised viewing was 6.3 million views. So there's a lot of people that were craving sports.
You think about it, you got nothing to watch. I mean, I've been watching, I'll go on YouTube and I've been watching football highlights, baseball highlights, and like a lot of it lately is like I'll watch wide receiver highlights, I'll watch cornerback and wide receiver matchups that I've been liking. But yeah, man, when there's sports on, we saw with the draft and you saw with UFC, man, people are dying to watch
Well,
it.
this week you have the golf tournament. You have Tiger and Phil, and I think it's Brady and Peyton. So it's
And there's
Tiger
no
and Brady
fans, right?
versus Phil and Peyton in a golf tournament. Yeah.
That's cool too, because you think golf
for charity.
golf is usually quiet, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's cool. I think golf. If you can do the UFC, testing people, I think you could easily do golf because there's not as many people too. I think it's good for that. I think it's good for everybody to get some sports out finally.
All right, NFL. Clowney still hasn't been signed by anyone. He turned down deals from Seattle. He also turned down deals from the Cleveland Browns. The Eagles came out and
Wow, that'd been
said,
good.
Eagles came out and said if they do sign him, it's going to be a 1-year deal, no more than $10 million.
Well, that's a lot of reports that I've seen too. Is that with everything going on with the coronavirus, the league might not make a lot of money this year. I mean, he's got to think, he might have to sign a 1-year prove-it deal. And that's why they've said a lot of these teams are not going to offer him a max deal right now. Cleveland Browns, that would have been good for them. And Seattle, I don't know if he had a bad time in Seattle, but I don't know why he wouldn't. He wants this big money, and he's not going to get it.
No, I mean, this all started out with $20 million he wanted, and everyone is afraid of how he's going to play. They think he's a lazy player. He hasn't played with any kind of motivation, and they're afraid to give him a long-term deal. Majority of the teams that have talked to him, it's like a one-year deal, prove-it kind of deal, and they don't want to break the bank on him.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that he's a bad player by any means or anything, but the guy has dealt with a lot, and with everything going on, man, you're not going to get that. I don't want him to go to the Eagles, though. I definitely don't want him to go to the Eagles, but I don't know about that situation.
I had this note from last week. We didn't even talk about it because we didn't do a podcast last week. That was my fault.
It was your fault.
This guy, Logan 30acre, we talked about this before. The NFL and all these places were doing the all-in challenge where they were raffling off things.
Yes.
And some of the top things that came out were Logan 30acres, his name. He's a 25-year-old YouTuber guy. He makes $1 million a month playing with puppets on YouTube.
Okay.
So he won the Tom Brady experience. He bid $850,000, and he gets to go out to dinner with Tom Brady.
You get to go to a game, too,
Gets to
right?
go to a game. He gets Tom Brady's first ever worn Tampa Bay jersey, autographed, and signed cleats.
Wow.
He's going to probably make his money back off that jersey and those cleats once Tom Brady goes to the Hall of
I would
Fame.
never sell him. I'd hang him up in this podcast room.
Yeah.
That all-in challenge is pretty cool. I don't know if you know who Chris Pratt is, but he's the guy from Jurassic World, and he's the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
But his all-in challenge was, he's like one of the main characters of Jurassic World, and there's a new one coming out. So his all-in challenge was that if you at least donate $10, that gets you in the entry. And what it is if you get picked to win, you get picked to go to the movie set with him, and you will be eaten by a dinosaur. And you will be clearly noticeable in the movie. You'll have screen time. It's not like they're going to cut you out or anything, but you will clearly be seen getting eaten by a dinosaur. I thought that was pretty cool.
Nuts.
That was pretty cool. Imagine like telling your grandkids or your kids, like, well, I mean, you're past that stage. But for me, being like, yeah, that's me getting eaten by a dinosaur. I thought that'd be pretty cool. No? Okay.
Definitely cool. Now, I was looking because I had a bunch of other ones written down from the all-in challenge, but apparently I don't have that sheet no more. But there was some outrageous prices being spent on some stuff, and it's all going for a good cause.
Yeah.
They raised over $41 million that'll be going to different charities for the coronavirus.
It's good. There's a lot of people donating for the coronavirus, and I'm happy for that. Even during the draft, they were pushing that really hard, and it's a good sign.
These are the top 8 quarterback matchups this year that are going to be happening. I'm going to start with number 8 first. Number 8 is going to be week 3, Russell Wilson versus Dak Prescott.
You said this is top 8 QB matchups, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
For this coming season. Top 8. Number 8 is Russell Wilson versus Dak week 3. That's in Seattle. I don't think it's me. I mean, right now it's because they're comparing Dak to Russell because of the money situation.
Okay. That's another podcast we can talk about.
Week 7, we have Tom Brady versus Aaron Rodgers. That's the number 7 one. Number 6 is Lamar versus Deshaun Jackson. That's week 2. Number 5 is Deshaun versus Patrick Mahomes. That's week 1.
That's always good, I feel like.
So can you imagine?
Think about the young talent.
Deshaun Jackson has to play week 1 Patrick Mahomes, and then week 2 against Lamar.
You think about some of these young quarterbacks that we get to watch for the next 20 years. That's what they say all day. Deshaun Watson, good arm, can run. Lamar Jackson can do it all. Patrick Mahomes, mega arm.
Mm-hmm.
Those are some 3 elite. And you got Josh Allen. You can't even. He's good too. Like, that's crazy.
The number 4 is Mahomes versus Tom Brady. That's week 12. Tom Brady's actually 2-1 versus Patrick Mahomes, and he's gonna have more weapons this year. So I mean, for some reason they have Tampa Bay as like it almost reminds me of Cleveland a couple years ago. Let's give them the trophy before the season starts.
That's what I said. I said, don't get me wrong, their team's loaded, but until I see them play 5 games together, you can't say anything.
Week 3, not week 3, number 3. Your boy, Drew, versus Aaron Rodgers, and that's week 3.
Is it in the Dome?
I don't know, but it says
I think it is.
they said it might be interesting if Drew pushes the ball down the field. We just had this whole discussion before he came on the air.
Does push
Number
the ball
2,
downfield.
Lamar versus Patrick Mahomes,
Can I guess number 1?
Week 3. Go ahead, number 1.
Drew Brees versus Tom Brady, Week 1 in the Dome.
Nope.
Okay.
You're right, though, on one of them. The number 1 most interesting quarterback matchup is Patrick Mahomes versus Drew Brees.
Yeah, it's the first time. When's that? What game? When week is that?
I'm not sure.
I
don't
think
have
it's
that-
in
I
the
don't know.
Dome too.
Yeah.
That's because I've never seen them play the Chiefs yet.
Yeah, and this is the first season where Drew Brees will not be practicing on Thursdays. He's going to be doing that Veterans Day off, so he's going to be getting time off to rest his arm.
Yeah.
Some more interesting news. T.Y. Hilton came out. He's got a year left. He wants a long new term deal with the Colts. He wants a lifetime deal.
That's cute.
Yeah.
I don't want to say cute, but happy for him. I think he's declining, but I think he's still a good receiver. Let me give you ESPN came out with the top 5 QB wide receiver duos.
There we go.
I'll start at number 5. I'll let you guess the top 2. Or do you want to guess 5?
Um,
Well, let me say this to you. Who do you think number 1 is?
Mahomes and Tyreek Hill.
Because I know you guessed Breeze and Thomas earlier, but I'll just read them off and you'll see if you're right or not. I'm not going to tell you right now. Number 5 is, and now each player is has an overall rate and they rank them. Okay, so number 5 they have Aaron Rodgers with a 91 and they have Adams with a 92 overall. All right, number 4 is Russell Wilson with a 97 and Lockett with an 86. Number 3 is Matt Ryan with an 87, Julio Jones a 97, which I could see that team being good this year. Number 2 is Breeze with a 94, Michael Thomas with a 99. And number 1, you are correct, with Mahomes a 99 and Tyreek Hill a 96.
Where's Dak and Cooper at?
I actually have it right here, actually.
Number 9?
They are ranked number 11.
Wow. Outside the top 10, we got something to look forward to this year.
So I use Tyreek in Madden because his speed is so elite and he's so small. Even in real life, the guy gets through defenders like it's nothing. And Mahomes, who's got that cannon of an arm, I can understand why these two are a great matchup. And I'm actually excited to see how well they do. Because I know Tyreek was the whole suspension thing in the beginning of last year, and it got injured too also. But Breeze and Thomas number 2 right there for you.
I give him that, even though I give you a little a crap off the air.
Yeah.
I'll
I'm
give you
not
that.
going to get into that. We got a little argument, but I'm not going to get
I
into
think it's going to be interesting that with the Cowboys this year, if Dak does sign, doesn't matter if he doesn't get the Red Rocket. But I think this could be the first time that we've had 3 1,000 passing yard receivers on the same team for the Cowboys.
I was shocked.
With CeeDee Lamb, Gallup, and Amari Cooper.
I was shocked with Russell Lockett. Surprised it wasn't like Deshaun and Hopkins or someone else. I was a little shocked with that one. Lockett an 86 overall.
I had notes on that whole that stuff that was going around with Russell Wilson getting traded, the whole 9 yards.
They say it's fake now, right?
Yeah, if this is the notes I have. For Russell Wilson, in order for him to get traded, it can't happen until at least 2022.
Why?
He's got a $39 million cap charge
But this
for Seattle.
this rumor was before he got paid.
Oh, I know, but there's still rumors going around now, even still, saying that they're trying to move away from Russell because they want to get younger and they want to bring the cap number down because he's getting 35 plus a year.
My thing that before you get into this is if that's true, number 1, why did you pay the guy?
Exactly.
Number 2 is you have a franchise quarterback who leads you to the playoffs almost every year and you're looking to get rid of him, who hasn't showed signs of declining, who's still a young quarterback. Like this, there's no way this could be true. If it is, they're idiots.
Russell Wilson wants to play till he's 42 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, he's 31. He's 31 right now. Okay. If they would trade him this year, it would be a $39 million cap charge to the Seattle Seahawks.
Just dead money?
Which would be absolutely cap disaster. You can't do
terrible.
it.
No.
So they're stuck with him, and it's the same.
Unless the other team
it's the
takes a lot of that
same
money.
thing- It's the same thing with the quarterback from Detroit.
Matthew Stafford.
He is. They would
Who
be in
just put his
such.
house up for sale.
But they can't get rid of him. They would be in such cap hell if they get rid of him. I think his was like a $40-some million cap charge of dead money. You can't do it. So maybe in 2 years, he would be able to get moved out of there. And let's face it, if your team don't want you, you already made the money. Your deal's almost up. Move on.
That'd be stupid of Seattle to do that. You know, speaking of, I'm just gonna get off topic real quick here. When I was listening to Pat McAfee's podcast today, and they had the Bills GM on there, and they were asking him questions. You know, 2018, you make it to the playoffs the first year with Tyrod, and then you cut him and you cut a bunch of people, and they said, what goes through that process? And he goes, you know, because you know, a lot of GMs, a lot of coaches, when they become the new GM or the new coach, they want to build the team that they want. You know, they want their quarterback. They want that. But that's not the situation for him was, he said as the GM, we went into that offseason with $52 million, like under they had to get rid of, like contracts that they had to kill. So they were over so much money. He said it was sad to cut some of these players because you think, you know, they just got to the playoffs. But you have to cut all these guys to get back in the green. And like, I love the fact when people have GMs or athletes on that you learn that educational side, because as a fan, you're like, why did you just cut Tyrod? Like, he just led you to the playoffs in the first year in like 17 years, 40 years, something like that. I forget what it was. But seeing a whole different side of that, you know, it just gives you answers you never had. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's just interesting because you know what? I just saw a squirrel jump from one tree to another. That was just absolutely amazing. Oh. But anyway,
ESPN.
You have guys out there like Cam Newton who still haven't gotten picked up, you know. So what are the chances of Russell even getting him? I mean, he's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but how many teams can you honestly say right now
would take Russell in an instant? I think all of them.
I think the only thing that's holding Cam back is the injury history.
You think the Bears wouldn't?
Well, the Bears got Foles now.
But you think the Bears wouldn't take Russell Wilson?
Jacksonville.
Now they also asked him. They asked this GM, Bill's GM. He's a GM. You know, he sees over things. They said, why is it that a guy like Cam Newton isn't signed? You know, as a GM, what are you GMs talking about that you see that why wouldn't he get signed? And he said, you know, and frankly, for a lot of us, we're shocked he hasn't been signed.
Yeah.
He said, but as a GM, I think what holds a lot of guys back is the fact that he's coming off an arm injury and then he comes with a foot injury. He's like, it's not really that. It's just the fact that we can't get our own doctors to see him right now, and you can't really train with him. You're just kind of looking off highlights that he's posting on Instagram. He said, don't get me wrong, I think Cam is going to come off with the biggest chip on his shoulder, the fact that a team basically told him to get out of town and that no team is picking him up right now. But the fact that doctors can't go and examine Cam, I think that's what's stopping a lot of the GMs from signing him.
And everyone has him going to New England sooner or later.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see it.
I don't know.
I see New England. I honestly see them tanking this year to get a Trevor Lawrence.
I think Cam came out now and he said he's willing to be a backup, and I think he knows that he could beat somebody out.
But his options are running out.
And I could see.
But the thing
I
is,
could see like a Jacksonville. You think Jacksonville didn't pick up any quarterback in the draft?
But the thing is, how are you going to beat someone out if there's no Cam?
Oh, well, let's be real. Cam goes to Jacksonville, Gardner Minshew ends up not being, you know, Minshew mania, goes 0-3, maybe 1-4. Mm-hmm. You think that coach isn't thinking, let's put Cam in. 2015 MVP, took a team to a Super Bowl. You know, I think that he could beat somebody out. Even the Browns. The Browns just picked up Case Keenum. But, you know, a team who has a starter and you're kind of like, well, I don't know if this is really going to be our guy yet. You know, a lot of people have quarterbacks who might be a bust. You know, I don't know. I mean, even Carolina. You know, will Teddy Bridgewater be a good quarterback? Oh, well, God, Carolina cut him, so that was just stupid of me to even say. But let's go in. If you're done with that conversation, I have a few running backs here I wanted to discuss with you, and I even gave you a little name here. Which running backs deserve to get paid? All right, we've got about 5 running backs we'll break down. And we'll start with my man, Alvin Kamara. I'll give you some notes on him that I have, and then I'll get your thoughts, and I'll get my thoughts. Whether they should be extended, because a lot of these guys, you know, coming up on a period where they can get extended, or they can play out their contract, or a team can just release them. Alvin Kamara, 3-time Pro Bowler, has caught 81 passes in all 3 of his Pro Bowl seasons. He's the second player in modern NFL history to go over 500 yards as both a rusher and a receiver in each of his first 3 campaigns. He did only score 6 touchdowns last year after scoring 31 in his first 2 years, but he did deal with injuries last year. Now, people are saying, you know, there's a franchise tag, so they don't think they should extend him yet, let him play out his rookie contract, because his first 2 years, let's be real, Alvin Kamara was a great great weapon because he can run for 1,000 yards and he can receive for 1,000 yards. Last year he got injured. I think he missed, I want to say 3 games, maybe 4. He rushed.
He missed pretty many last year.
He still rushed for 797 yards. He struggled with the touchdowns. I think he only had, here it is, 5 touchdowns. But he had, I had the receiving yards pulled up for him. He received 533 yards. So you're thinking a guy who missed about 4 games still brought in 500 yards receiving, 700 yards rushing. Obviously had a down year. It wasn't the same Alvin Kamara, but I think that he's a guy that I think the Saints should extend, but let him play out his contract like a prove-it year.
The problem with the running back position is, and I think Dallas overpaid Zeke, number one. Okay, the problem with the running back position is you have multiple backs on teams now.
Yeah, so it's hard.
So like a Kamara, he's more of like a Duke Johnson, like a Tony Pollard,
but he can rush though for you.
Yeah, I know, but
see him
he's
hurdling
not going
guys
to be
and-
your power back that's going to come in there and rush the ball 20 times a game. He's more of a fancy, let's do a trick play, do a screen or whatever. Every team has him now.
One thing you can say about Alvin Kamara, though, and a lot of commentators will comment on this too, is when he does run compared to other receiving backs, he's hard to take down. I don't know what it is, but he does this kind of slippery motion, or he does. I mean, have you seen his off-season training, where like he'll stand one leg on these bounce balls and they'll throw him tennis ball? This guy does not go down for how small he is. He's hard to tackle.
The thing is like football's evolving. You don't
Yes.
see the 20 plus carries anymore per one back.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it's a dying position. It's not. They need the position, but
it's almost like a Steph Curry situation where like the 3-point line has evolved.
football.
You know what I mean? Like the running back
Yeah.
position's evolving.
Let's face it. The fans want to see throwing. They want to see passing. They want to see trickery. Football's evolving. You don't see too much running anymore.
It's weird, though,
It's
because-
more of a passing league now.
In college, you see a lot of running, I feel like.
Oh, you do. You do. But you're seeing a lot of these teams now that you can protect the quarterback. You have to sack him a certain way. They want to see the big passing plays. They want to see a quarterback throw for 400 or 500 yards. That's the nature of the beast. That's where football's gone.
So if you're the GM, you're going to let him walk in free agency when it comes up. You're going to let him play out his rookie contract, or are you thinking about possibly extending him?
I'll tell you what's going to happen. He's going to stay in New Orleans because Drew Brees is going to be done after this year.
Yeah.
He's going to get extended because they're going to have money. They're going to give Winston a deal that's going to he
Tricky
can't
though
turn
because
down.
Marshawn Lattimore needs money too. And when's the last time the Saints had a good cornerback?
Hey, look what happened with Byron Jones. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the Saints cannot let a
Dallas
cornerback-
couldn't let him go either.
If I had to pick right now between Lattimore and Kamara, as much as it would hurt me, the Saints, it's hard to get cornerbacks in this game. And the Saints did just sign Ty Montgomery too, which I was a little questioned about.
Again, the league's evolved. The rules have evolved.
Yeah.
So it's tough to get your lockdown corner that's going to
Yeah.
freaking not get pass interference called on him
Yeah.
for breathing on a guy.
Yeah.
If I'm the GM, offenses are what's winning games right
so
now.
you're extending Kamara.
I'm extending Kamara.
I would too.
I'm extending Kamara. I'm signing Jameis to a 2 or 3 year deal.
I would say 2 years.
And I'd say probably like about $20 million. I wouldn't give him the 30 plus.
No.
And
I'd give Jameis 15 a year.
I think Kamara,
prove it.
I think Alvin's going to stay in New Orleans.
Yeah. Next guy up is Joe Mixon. So Joe Mixon, with 515 carries over the last 2 seasons, proved that he is a workhorse potential. One thing you can tell though, what sucks for him, his situation, is he does put up a lot of stats, but the Cincinnati is always down early. So whenever you're down early, you tend to pass the ball a little bit more than run it. But he's only 23 years old.
Yeah.
All right. Mixon has had 4.2 career yards per attempt, has never had a 300-yard season as a receiver, and has only caught 4 touchdown passes in 3 years. So he's more of the old horse running back. 1,137 yards rushing last year as a running back. The past 2 seasons, he's put up over 1,000 yards rushing. Mm-hmm. He could be a building piece to build around with Joe Burrow. They drafted some young receivers. You still have A.J. Green. In my opinion, you extend Joe Mixon. You do not let a guy like that walk.
Again, I mean, it's the same situation. I mean, I remember a couple years ago, Cincinnati had 3 running backs. They
Yeah.
had Mixon, they had
Bernard, stay there,
and they had that other guy that was there.
Yeah.
My thing is they have the money. They have the money to sign him.
Yes.
But what is he looking for? Is he looking for Zeke money? Because Dallas flipped the market now. You know, Zeke's going to be making over $13 million a year. Is everyone looking to surpass that?
Yeah.
You know, then again, you gotta figure out is Joe Mixon that piece that we need? And Alvin Kamara is very important.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon, is he going to be important? Probably. It's a rookie quarterback coming in there.
I think what's tough with Joe Mixon is you don't see a lot of workhorse running backs that are power horses. That was for Noah, by the way. You don't see a lot of guys that will just run through you. You see, like we said, the league is evolving. You see a lot of these guys that, like a Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, they can get 1,000 yards rushing, but they can also get 1,000 yards receiving. Joe Mixon, he's not much of a receiving back. The thing is, though, when you have a guy who's only 23, he's brought in 1,000 yards rushing 2 seasons in a row, and you have a young quarterback,
I think they'll
I'd
sign
keep
him.
him in, and then you get somebody who can catch the ball.
I can see him getting extended before the season starts because he's already threatened to sit out.
Like you said, though, as we're not GM, so we don't know what these guys are expecting. But as just pretending here, if I was GM, this is a guy that I would extend.
I would. Again, it seems like everyone wants to outdo everyone financially, so that's the problem. What's he asking for? Is he asking for more money than Zeke? Is he worth that? I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
think Zeke's worth that. But I think he's on a team where they have the flexibility to sign, where the Saints don't have that flexibility financially to re-sign Alvin Kamara right now.
Yeah.
I think Cincinnati will get that deal done.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, he's the number one back there now. They need him.
Yeah.
AJ Green's another one. He hasn't signed his franchise tag tenure, so he's out. So you have to have weapons there.
All right, this next guy, a little tricky. This one's a little tricky. Leonard Fournette. Big headline of the offseason. A lot of people thought he was going to get traded. I think he still technically is on the trade block. 1,152 yards rushing last year. So he did. I feel like as a goal for a running back, your goal is always to get at least 1,000 yards rushing. I think that puts you in a good season.
Well, it used to be that.
Now, Fournette is the only first-round running back from 2017 that's still on a rookie contract. He has not been extended yet. And his future in Jacksonville obviously is clouded since they have declined to exercise his fifth-year option in 2021.
That's a bad sign.
He's been on the trading block since this offseason. He is a complete package back coming off his best season. He actually, remember the photo he took where he lost a lot of weight? He's a good rusher, a good receiver. The thing, though, is in 3 years, he's missed 12 games.
Yeah.
He's dealt with a lot of injuries. Coming out of college, he had a lot of, potential is the word I guess I want to use, and he still hasn't lived up to that potential.
No.
You think about how well he played in LSU, and the people think that he needs to put up, these mega stats this year and stay healthy if he wants to get paid.
He's not going to be there. I think he's going to walk. I think they're trying to get underneath a certain salary cap position. They let Ramsey walk. They let, Nick Foles go.
Yeah, they're clearing house.
So
there.
yeah, they're trying, and they went almost all defense in the draft. So I think that they're trying to reset that team, and I don't think he's going to be there. First of all, I don't think he can stay healthy enough. He's averaging 4 games a year where he's missing. Yeah. And football's a short season, so if
and
you
running
can't,
backs
if
career
you can't give it,
isn't that long.
Yeah.
Now you have Leonard Fournette, who came out and said that Cam would be the better option for their team. So
That's
obviously
bad
that's
right there.
putting bad words into your quarterback's mouth.
I don't think they have the weapons there to.
I mean, you have DJ Clark, who did put up 1,000 yards, who wasn't the starter all year. You got some young talent receivers there, and Gardner Minshew did put up 3,000 yards with 21 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. The thing with Fournette is, if they don't trade him and he finishes out this year, and he does have mega stats, I still don't think they sign him. I think they let him walk. I still don't think there's going to be a team that gives him like a Zeke 3 to 4 year contract. I think he's going to get a 2-year prove it deal just because he's been injured so much.
Yeah.
And he still hasn't lived up to the LSU hype yet.
I don't see him staying there.
No.
I really don't.
Do I think Leonard Fournette can be a good running back? Yes. You've seen it last year when he put the work in to get healthy, when he put the work in to lose weight. He had a lot better year than
Problem is, he's been in the league how many years? 3 or 4 years already.
About 3 years, yeah.
So, your time's running out because there's always someone coming behind you.
Yeah.
What team out there needs a running back right now? And a running back that you're going to have to pay low money so you could come in and prove it.
Yeah.
And
So
that's
in both our eyes, we're letting him walk.
That's the problem with sports. When your ego gets in front of what you really should be making.
Yeah.
You can't negotiate nothing.
No. So we're both cutting him.
We're kind of like with Dak.
2 more guys. The second guy here, not second last guy, James Conner. James Conner's tricky because he's a great story. He has too many wrong guy. 2018 Pro Bowl. They lose Le'Veon Bell. James Conner comes in. He's the man. Injured almost the entire 2019 season. it's a long shot for him to have this bounce back year. He's missed 9 games in the last 2 seasons, and this is the final year of his rookie contract. He did have 464 rushing yards last year. Obviously, he missed a lot of games, and he had 4 touchdowns. Is he staying, or are you letting him walk?
I think he's in a situation where he has to play this out. He has to prove himself. He was injured almost all year last year. Ben's coming back. He has to step up and prove himself.
Yes.
This is a situation where he doesn't have the big name. He doesn't have the he didn't have the big spark to his name coming out of college. So I think he's going to stay. He's going to finish out that contract, hopefully produce and get an extension with them.
They didn't have one running back last year get 500 yards rushing, by the way.
He had a lot of injuries last year.
You have Big Ben coming back, so I think if James Conner wants to stay in Pittsburgh and get at least a 2-year contract, he has to show the 2018 James Conner this year. He has some competition coming out. There's that like Snell Jr. guy they really liked. He can do it. You think Big Ben's back now, shaved his beard, cut his hair. He's throwing a juju. If he can throw, that puts. I mean, you think about they had young quarterbacks last year, so everyone knows you're gonna at least dump the ball and run. Obviously he was injured, so he really didn't even get to play in that situation. But if this is gonna be like, you think about Fournette. James Conner's a better situation here because he can play well if Big Ben is there healthy. They got wide receiver help.
Pittsburgh's going to be the team that's going to, they're going to be favorites. Let's put it like that. They have one of the best defenses in the league.
They do.
Their defense
it's their
is
wide
solid.
Receivers that still, because besides Juju, you have Washington who put up like 700 yards receiving, but they don't have that main second guy.
But they didn't have. They went 7-9 with backup quarterbacks. If this season, if they went 7-9 this year with the extended playoffs, they would have made the playoffs.
Yeah.
So with Ben's easily going to guarantee them another 3 or 4 wins if he can stay healthy.
Yeah.
But I can see them winning that division.
Our Michigan boy, Devin Bush, 109 tackles last year in his rookie year. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So in my eyes, if I was the GM in this one, if he did have a good year, I would give him a 1 to 2 year contract. If he had kind of an injured year and didn't really perform well, I'm letting him walk.
Again, if he has a good year, I think you sign him. Because let's face it, if they make the playoffs, you're going to fall in the draft. So is there going to be a running back available that they can draft next year's draft? Or do you stick with your guns and sign this James Conner? Mm-hmm. I think if he stays healthy and he has a solid year, I think you sign him.
Yeah. Our last guy here is another tricky one, is Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt is a lot of off-field problems. Obviously, too, is also working behind Nick Chubb, who is a stellar running back for the Cleveland Browns. So you got to think, too, that he won't get enough reps to prove himself for a mega contract. And he led the league in rushing as a rookie. So you have a guy who played a great game with the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously has a lot of things going off the field with problems. The Browns pick him up. He had 6 or 7 game suspension.
His problems are behind him, hopefully.
Yeah, but the thing that sucks is when you have a guy like Nick Chubb who is performing very well, who's rushing for 1,000 yards, you're not going to get a lot of reps. Your best hope is that if Nick Chubb gets injured or...
But last year, they were a good 1-2 punch.
They were.
They had them both in at certain times of the game.
But you got to think, though, if he's looking for a mega deal, he's not going to get it because everything happened.
And I think at this point, he's not. I'm not speaking for him directly, but I think you're on your second chance in the NFL after what you've done.
Yeah.
You basically drop-kicked a lady in the chest or whatever the heck you did.
Yeah.
So I think where he's at, it's a good 1-2 punch. Chubb's going to get you the carries. He's going to be the power back. And then you're going to bring in Hunt as a passing threat. It worked well with them last year. He's definitely capable of coming in there and being a star for that team. It's going to come down to how greedy they get, unfortunately.
Yeah, if he has a good year receiving and rushing this year behind Nick Chubb, if I was the Browns, I'd probably sign a 2-year deal to, be a good backup. It's always nice to have a good 1-2 punch, like you said. We've seen it with Alvin Kamara and Ingram, Alvin Kamara and Murray now. You've seen it with Zeke and Pollard. It's always nice to have that good second guy. Last guy on this list, I didn't even add him on this list. We'll just talk about him briefly. Is obviously Dalvin Cook is coming up on a year soon where he's going to be able to get extended. The thing with Dalvin Cook, obviously, is a stellar running back when healthy. Mm-hmm. Dealt with a lot of injuries his rookie year.
Yep.
And last year, we thought he was going to have that amazing healthy season, misses the last 4 games with an injury. He did put up 1,000 yards rushing, and I believe he did also have 13 touchdowns. Open field, this guy is fast. You're not tackling him. He's a great running back. If he has a full healthy season this year, if I'm Minnesota, I am definitely going to extend him. I don't know what degree I will extend him to just because of his injury history. Probably like a 2-3 year deal, but I'm not giving him Zeke money yet.
You know, they have a good team. They have a lot of good weapons there. I think you have to sign them. I don't know what their salary cap is. I know they still owe, I think, their quarterback $53 million. They've already invested $111 million into all the other positions on their team. I think the cap's like roughly a $198 million. So they do have money. I mean, you could extend them this year if you wanted to. But is he, again, you're going to come down to the point, is he going to demand big money with lack of performance? And
well, the next guy behind him, like we talk about 1-2 punches. The next guy behind him only had 400 yards rushing. So you see how big that gap is. So, I mean, if he goes down, you don't sign him, like, what is your options?
Yeah. Well, there's always options out there. There's always people you can pick up.
Yeah.
But it's going to come down to how bad you want him. I mean, if you think he's a key part of your team, I seriously think he is a good part of the team.
I think he is, yeah.
You have to re-sign him. But, you saw what the Cowboys did with Quinn and with the Byron Jones. You can't sign everybody. And if they demand more than you think they're worth, you have to let them walk.
Yeah. I like that. That was a good conversation. But before we get to this podcast, I have you have some baseball notes, and I have a great thing I want to talk about here. Is Yadier Molina was interviewed, obviously about how long his career is and who does he think the greatest catcher is, and he said, by the time he retires, he wants to be known as the GOAT, the greatest catcher of all times. Which you think about the guy. I have some stats here. 16 years in the majors with the St. Louis Cardinals. Hasn't let that team, been loyal with them. At least the best defensive catcher in history, we could probably say right now. 9 Gold Glove Awards and 4 Platinum Gold Glove Awards. I didn't even know what a Platinum Glove Award was. I had to look that up. He's thrown out 40.2% of base runners in his career, which leads all active players. With 1,947 games as a catcher, he ranks 7th all time and could climb to 4th with another full season. This is the thing that's just tricky is his bats. I mean, he does put up a career of 282 batting average with 1,963 career hits, 9 All-Star selections, and 2 Silver Slugger awards, 2 World Series titles. So when you think about all that stuff that he has, I mean, what other catcher in your mind? I mean, because I know you've seen more catchers than I have.
I mean, Tony Pena is good. Benito Santiago is good. He's definitely a Hall of Famer.
In my time of seeing catchers, the only other guy that came to my mind, I don't think Joe Bauer. Obviously, he was good. I think
definitely he was a threat. He's
the other guy that really comes to my mind when I think of the 2 greatest catchers I've seen in my time is I think I'm having a brain fart. Gosh, who's the guy from the Giants? Buster Posey. That's the only other guy that I see because Buster Posey hits well.
And let's face it, he had a setback once he had that knee injury.
Yeah. But these 2 guys for me would come down to it because I mean Yadier Molina. I mean that guy has so much swagger. He wears the Jordan.
He's one of the best. He's one of the best defensive catchers in the league.
Yes,
calls
absolutely.
a great game.
Absolutely,
great arm. He could throw you out anywhere on the field.
I think he saves his knees too by the way he sits behind. Ever see the way he sits behind home plate?
I'm gonna have someone call in.
All right, we're having someone call in. Who we having call in? Is this Aaron Evans?
Alex.
Hello?
Yo, what's up, Alex?
Hey, what's up, guys?
How you doing, man?
Yeah, we're just talking baseball right now, and it's funny because I want you to talk about your Pittsburgh Pirates and what you've been doing to let them know that you're disgusted.
Please don't.
Yeah, let's talk about them.
I'm over the Pirates, man. I really am. Like I can't even give myself. I can't give any more energy to them. It's just ridiculous.
It just sucks because
$50 million for a whole entire MLB payroll. It's ridiculous.
I feel like with the Pittsburgh Pirates too. I feel like whenever they get a good prospect in their hands, they kind of let him go.
Well, even when they don't get a good prospect, I mean, you look at like McCutchen, right? When they got rid of McCutchen, and the thing is, he was on the downside of his game, so he wasn't exactly like fantastic by that point. But he still had a couple years left in him, and I mean, they traded him for nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, you could have got something. You could have got anything. They didn't give anything. And then you look at every one of the prospects that they trade away. I mean, how many pitchers do they have right now that are making crazy money at any other team?
Probably
and
only
you can't blame them for
yeah,
wanting to go somewhere else.
Probably only Archer, really.
It's just it's absolutely insane that like the prospects that they give up and the bad deals that they make. And the thing is, like, Bob Nutting, who owns the Pirates at this point, is like the third richest owner in the MLB. It's not like he's, strapped for cash by any means.
Yeah.
It's almost like he's tanking or something, and there's not really, you don't see tanking in baseball. Do you think he's to the point where he wants to sell the team?
Well, I don't know. You guys are on the other side of the state. I'm kind of like dead center in the middle. So there's a place called I think it's Seven Springs out that way is what he owns, and it's a big resort kind of area around that place, and that's where a lot of people from that area go for vacations and such. And from what I understand, that's his main concern.
Why?
The baseball team is playing second fiddle to his resort.
I heard there at one point there were people asking, I think it was last year, you like you said, he does have a lot of money, and they're like, when are you going to start buying people? I think he replied with something like, we don't want to just go out there and hand some guy like this huge contract. Like, they're just being patient and waiting for the right moves. But like you said, we have a couple Pirates fans, and it's like every year, like, you don't really know the team. It's a bunch of new guys usually. Like, everybody that they have, they either trade away or let walk.
But that's BS, because the last 2 years in free agency, there's been so many big name free agents that they could have, brought to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
I just wonder, like, why isn't the MLB stepping up and doing something? Because these lower tier teams, they get paid off of all the guys that go over the luxury tax, like the Braves, the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Yankees. All these lower tier teams get money handed to them. Are you there?
Oh, we lost him. Maybe we'll get him back. Maybe not.
That's what happens when you're doing things live on the air.
Sorry, fellas.
That's
I'm
all
on my way home, so I
that's
dropped the
good.
call a little bit. To follow up on your what was the question there? About why you think they aren't
Just getting like free agents are really spending their money.
it just boils down to, like, he's money hungry. I mean, that's just what it boils down to. And another part of it is you can tell by the way. Yeah, I mean they're not and it's not like how you see in football now where, with quarterbacks and stuff, they're kind of being stingy with quarterbacks where they're getting them on rookie deals and kind of letting the free agents go. You've seen it this year.
Yeah.
A lot of really decent quarterbacks are out of there because it's easier to pay, wide receivers and running backs good money, and then just have a quarterback, college. But they're not really doing that. Like, they're just kind of like you're tanking, but they're not really. There's no, and the MLB.
We'll have to cut him soon.
Yo, Alex, when you get home and we put this up, you're gonna have to play it back because we just lost you again. Are you there?
Those are big Philly fans. But yeah, I'm here. But Pittsburgh is a very traditional, very, like, they're going to stick to their guns. They're going to support their team, and I think it's going to take empty seats. I think it's going to have to take an empty arena.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised. Like, before we lost you, I said I'm surprised. Like, baseball, they don't step up and do something about this, because, like, the lower tier teams, they benefit from teams that go over the luxury tax. So why isn't, like, the commissioner stepping up and saying, you know what the hell's going on here?
Well, trust me, I'm doing everything I can to call them out on Twitter. I'm patiently awaiting my ban from the Pittsburgh Pirates Twitter account.
Yeah, for real.
Well, I make it very apparent that I'm a disgruntled fan. I don't know. Like I said, I've just kind of given up on the fact that and it really sucks because Pittsburgh it's it's steeped in tradition. I mean, there's a lot of really good baseball that came out of Pittsburgh, and it's just making a mockery of it. You know what I mean? And I make the argument that I'm not exactly like a fair weather fan by any means, because I mean I suffered through Tommy Maddox and Cordell Stewart. Like,
Yeah.
those were hard times. Those were hard times as a Steelers fan. I remember watching the Penguins whenever they were getting ready to sell the team, as how awful they were. As a kid, I can stick through bad seasons, but this is just a blatant like disrespect to the game and to the fans.
Yeah.
Well, we just had a whole segment on running backs that are coming up on the end of their contracts, and James Conner was one of them. And we were saying with Ben Roethlisberger coming back, this would be a good time for James Conner to come back with Ben, try to redeem himself after last year having all those injuries, and try to get paid big money in Pittsburgh.
Well, and here's the problem with James Conner is how I feel about it. I don't think that the talent isn't there. I think he's a really talented guy, and I think he would be worth the money. But there is that risk of injury.
Yeah.
I mean, and you have to take that into play. There's a lot of people that are complaining about why we didn't, why we didn't get rid of Conner versus why we kept him, and there's light at the end of the tunnel if he doesn't get hurt. But if he gets hurt and you pay him a lot of money, well, you're kind of up a creek without a paddle at that rate.
Yeah, like we said, 2018 Pro Bowl, Le'Veon Bell left and he shined, and then 2019 he missed almost most of the season. So like we said, that this last year, if this is his last year, it is like a prove it year deal. Can you stay healthy, and can you put those numbers back up like you did in 2018, especially with Big Ben being back?
I think he's a good player. I think I really like. I hope the best for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's one of those guys where I would like to see him succeed because he seems like he has a good head on his shoulders. He seems like he has a lot of tenacity. He seems like he loves the game and he loves the area. So I want to see him succeed, but you can't do that at the risk of a championship run. I mean, I don't even consider them to be probably – I don't see the Steelers being very competitive this year.
Ooh.
I think maybe competitive. I assume they're going to be competitive, but I'd be really surprised if they made it deep into the playoffs.
Well, I just went out on a limb before you came on, and I said with Big Ben coming back, I'm going to project that they win that division. I mean, last year, if they would have the extended playoff like they have now for last year, Pittsburgh was the next team to go in at 7-9. And if they can go 7-9 with two backup quarterbacks who are absolutely garbage, and Ben can stay healthy with the good defense you guys have, I think you guys are it's gonna be out of you guys in Baltimore.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I look at Baltimore to be sort of the team to beat this year. And I only say that because the receivers for Pittsburgh, I mean, they kind of hung their hat on Juju last year, and I don't think he's a number one. I think he's good. I think he'd be really good behind somebody else, but
Yeah.
I just don't think he's old enough. I don't think he's mature enough to take over that role quite yet. And hopefully he gets to that place. But that's what would scare me a lot. And then plus you're also banking on a running back that is injury prone, for a lack of better description.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they also
So
I think they need a good, solid number one receiver that Juju can work with. When Antonio Brown was there, Juju was open a lot. And the second guy you have, I think, is just Washington. You put up 700 receiving yards, but I don't think you got that solid guy yet.
They could always bring Antonio back. He said he's sorry.
Oh, I wish they would. I wish they would in the worst of ways. I would love to see the comeback. I'm a big comeback story guy. Tiger Woods, that's one of my favorite comeback stories in sports. So, like, if Antonio would come back and just kill it for the Steelers, I would love it.
I think Antonio has a lot of issues that I think have to do with playing from football. I think he has head injury problems, or he needs to be medicated, because when he's medicated, I think like when he went to jail for that little bit of time and he came out.
That's not even a little bit like
He-
I can only imagine him listening to this, hearing you say he needs to be medicated.
Give him a couple of Valiums or something and tell us, hey, here, go play some football, you know?
Oh, there we go. It's the kind of football I want to watch. I say we have a league that's just all out steroids. Like I think
Oh, yeah.
everybody should be allowed to have steroids, and then we can really see what's up with these guys. I don't know. I think Antonio has a really big head. He definitely does. But and I've always said, like, as much as Bell kind of screwed them around, because that was kind of the bane of their existence there for a while, was between Bell and Brown. But like, I can understand Bell's a little bit more than Antonio. I think Antonio's was just a de-swinging contest for lack, for to put it bluntly.
Yeah.
But I think Bell had reasoning.
Technical difficulties.
Are you there?
You want to just come and end it?
Are you there? Hello? We'll try this one more time. He drives trucks, so he might not be in
Does he?
in a good area. Think
I'm an awful guest.
you know, it's a good thing we're not editing this. And when you listen back, there's going to be a lot of dead air. Yeah.
Oh, I hope you don't.
You know, we only have 3
That'd
followers.
be a
We only have 3 followers, and we probably lost 2 of them already now.
middle, like basically like the butthole of Pennsylvania, like right smack in the middle of it. So, service isn't exactly a high priority around here.
Well, you know what? Since this whole COVID crap happened, my wife and I have had more drop calls in the last freaking month than we've ever had with Verizon.
It's the 5G towers, dude. 5G that made the COVID. You saw that. You saw 5G is responsible for COVID. We know that now. And it's ruining cell phone signals. So we just burn them down, I believe.
Yeah. But hey, before we
We're
start
doing a great public service.
Before we start this podcast, I was talking about all the podcasts I listen to, and I mentioned yours, and I was telling our listeners how your podcast, how it started out and where you are now. I said the last couple, like 3 or 4, have been amazing because it's off the cuff, and you guys are just going with it. You know, it doesn't sound scripted, and that's where Tyler and I were. We sounded so scripted in the beginning; it's like we were reading the news.
Yeah, it's certainly a hard thing to get to, and I see. We started out with a different podcast, and it just kind of went south. We got in the weeds a lot, and I think like finding a happy median between the first one that we did versus the last one. So we've kind of tried to move more into like pop culture because that's a really easy subject to kind of morph around, and everybody can relate to it. Everybody knows what's on TV. Everybody is looking at their phone constantly. So you see what's going on in that aspect. And then on top of it all, I want to make you feel like you're in the room with me.
Yeah.
I want to make you feel like you're part of the crowd. You're part of the guys, you're hanging out with us. And that's really what I aspire to go for. And I think we've got other things in the pipe, and we definitely have ideas for doing some different stuff, doing some unique things coming up, and we're going to try to keep people up to date on that. But we have one of our Tori is expecting a child here coming up in June, so that's going to be quite the transition for him. I already have 2, so I know what's going on, and Brandon already has 2. But I think he's going to have quite the transition coming up,
Well, see, it gets better because
So-
I have 3 and they're all in their 20s.
Oh God, yeah, you're living it then. You're living life.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to sell everything I own and get an RV and just maybe like sell tie-dyed T-shirts out of the RV whenever my kids get to 20.
You know, that would be an awesome podcast if Tori goes live while his wife's pushing.
I've said that, and with Zoom nowadays, like you could easily Zoom it.
Yeah. I don't think she would appreciate that, but I think your listeners would.
No, we've already discussed that. I mean, like, this is how I look at everything whenever it comes to decisions made within marriage. Like, is she gonna divorce me over it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because inevitably I'm going to upset her a good bit. But is this divorceable?
No.
Well, I'm probably gonna lose you guys. I don't wanna screw it up any worse than I already have. But thanks for letting me come on.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
anytime, man. Anytime.
Anytime.
It was good talking the Steelers and the Pirates, even though it's hurt me to the core.
Well, hey, we have something to look forward to. They're saying hockey and basketball are coming back. They're saying actually basketball, 22 of the 30 camps have already opened. So they're just trying to iron things out of how they're going to play, but the Sixers might get a chance to make that run.
I heard it's Arizona. I heard they're looking into Arizona to start things up. So
Yeah, I heard that they're going to stick all the teams in hotels, and that's where you're going to stay quarantined until you're eliminated, and then you leave, like the freaking Bachelor or whatever.
oh, that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Who gets the roses at the end?
Well, you know what? I said this several times now on this podcast. Disney World and Disneyland, they have all those resorts, and nothing is going on there. You know what? You give them a week.
Well, they just opened.
They did?
I heard Disney's opening again.
And Disney owns ESPN too.
Well, if they open, it's done. I can't do it. But I was going to say, you take the 8 teams from the West and the 8 teams from the East, and you put them all in those resorts, and you play your playoff games there. And then you have a 7-game series going back and forth between Disney World and Disneyland for the East versus the West for the championship.
Yep, but then what are they going to say when they change?
I don't know. We're losing you.
It just doesn't have the same appeal.
Yeah. I don't know. But, hey.
Well, I think.
And that's where we end the podcast. It was a pleasure having him on. We'll just let him go for now, but
We tried.
Yeah, it was a pleasure with this podcast.
I like just, you know, you could take all these notes and throw them away. I could just sit here and talk, and I want to get Dexter on here, because if I get Dexter on, I guarantee we're going to talk for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
But an interesting fact, quick, because we're going to talk about baseball just a little bit real quick. Baseball, if they do not play this year, they're going to lose over $4 billion
That's crazy.
for the season. Another interesting fact that I found out, too, is that... Where the hell is it? I don't know. I lost it.
Oh, man.
This is one of those podcasts.
I got a lot of editing on my hands tonight.
No, you don't. Just let it go. It's all good.
There's a lot of blank spaces
here it
out
is.
there today.
In one baseball season, I didn't know this, they use 162,000 baseballs, and they spend over $8.5 million alone just on baseballs. Interesting
I
fact.
can see you think about how many pitches the catchers throw back to the dugout, how many they either use them probably as balls to hit for practice. They give them away to the fans.
Yeah. But I
Foul
don't care.
balls,
This was a good podcast. It doesn't matter if we lost Alex or not. It was a good podcast. We got to talk for over an hour, and no editing. And then we'll get into this on Thursday.
Hope you guys enjoy this. We'll see you next time, which will be Thursdays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. We forgot to record Thursday because there's a little bit of stuff going on. But we hope you guys stay safe and have a good one.
Stay safe, guys.